Hello, Shorter College. February is African American History Month. For this month, I have decided to focus on Harriet Tubman. I am reading information found on history.com. Harriet Tubman was an escaped, enslaved woman who became a conductor on the Underground Railroad, leading enslaved people to freedom before the Civil War, all the while having a bounty on her head. She was also a nurse, a Union spy, and a women's suffrage supporter. Born around 1820 on a plantation in Dorchester County, Maryland, Arminta, as her parents had named her, later changed her first name to Harriet in honor of her mother, Harriet Green. Harriet had 8 brothers and sisters, but the realities of slavery eventually forced many of them apart, despite her mother's attempts to keep them together. At 5, Harriet was rented out as a nursemaid, where she was whipped when the baby cried, leaving her with permanent emotional and physical scars. Around age 7, Harriet was rented out to a planter to set muskrat traps, and was later rented out as a field hand. Harriet's desire for justice became apparent at age 12, when she spotted an overseer about to throw a heavy weight at a fugitive. Harriet stepped in between the fugitive and the overseer. The weight struck her head, leaving her with headaches and narcolepsy for the rest of her life, causing her to fall into a deep sleep at random. She also started having vivid dreams and hallucinations, which she often claimed were religious visions. She was a staunch Christian. Her infirmity made her unattractive to potential slave buyers and renters. With the help of the Underground Railroad, Harriet persevered and traveled 90 miles north to Pennsylvania and freedom. She found work as a housekeeper in Philadelphia, but wasn't satisfied living free on her own. She wanted freedom for her loved ones and friends too. She returned to the South to lead her niece and her niece's children to Philadelphia via the Underground Railroad. The 1850 Fugitive Slave Act allowed fugitive and freed workers in the North to be captured and enslaved. This made Harriet's role as an Underground Railroad conductor much harder and forced her to lead enslaved people further north to Canada, traveling at night, usually in the spring or fall when the days were shorter. She carried a gun for both her own protection and to encourage her chargers who might be having second thoughts. Over the next 10 years, Harriet befriended other abolitionists, such as Frederick Douglass, Thomas Garrett, and Martha Coffin Wright, and established her own Underground Railroad network. It is believed Harriet personally led at least 70 enslaved people to freedom. She claimed, "I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger." When the Civil War broke out in 1861, she was recruited to assist fugitive enslaved people at Fort Monroe and worked as a nurse, cook, and laundress. Harriet used her knowledge of herbal medicines to help treat sick soldiers and fugitive enslaved people. In 1863, Harriet became head of an espionage and scout network for the Union Army. She provided crucial intelligence to Union commanders about Confederate Army supply routes and troops, and helped liberate enslaved people to form black Union regiments. Though just over 5 feet tall, she was a force to be reckoned with, although it took over 3 decades for the government to recognize her military contributions and award her financially. Tubman even had a World War II Liberty ship named after her, the SS Harriet Tubman. In 2016, the United States Treasury announced that Harriet's image would replace that of former president and slave owner Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill.